Welcome to Religion Unpacked. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the greatest archaeological discovery in history. The year is 1947. The blistering sun beats down on the desolate, rocky cliffs of the Judean desert, just a few miles from the shores of the Dead Sea. It is a harsh, unforgiving landscape where nothing changes for centuries. A young Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad Ed-Dib is searching for a lost goat. He climbs a steep cliff face and notices a small, dark opening to a cave. Thinking his goat might be hiding inside, he picks up a rock and throws it into the darkness. He expects to hear the bleat of an animal. Instead, he hears a sharp, echoing crack, the sound of breaking pottery. Muhammad has no idea, but that single stone has just triggered the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century. Today, we are going to unpack the mystery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Who wrote these ancient texts and hid them in the desert? Does the mysterious copper scroll really point to billions of dollars in buried treasure? And why did it take over 40 years for scholars to release the complete texts to the public? Was the Vatican hiding something that could destroy Christianity? When Muhammad and his cousin entered that cave, they found 7 clay jars. Inside were ancient parchment scrolls, wrapped in linen and blackened by time. They eventually sold them to an antiquities dealer in Bethlehem for the equivalent of about $30. But once the academic world realized what these scrolls were, a frantic race began. Over the next decade, archaeologists and Bedouins scoured the cliffs around Qumran, discovering 11 caves containing over 900 manuscripts and tens of thousands of fragments. The magnitude of the find was staggering. Before 1947, the oldest complete Hebrew Bible in existence was the Aleppo Codex, dating to the 10th century AD. The Dead Sea Scrolls were dated to between the 3rd century BC and the 1st century AD. They were 1,000 years older. In a single stroke, humanity had recovered the ancient roots of the biblical text. Among the documents was the Great Isaiah Scroll, perfectly intact and 24 feet long. When scholars compared it to the modern book of Isaiah, they were shocked. Despite 1,000 years of copying by hand, the text was almost identical. It proved that the biblical text had been preserved with astonishing, meticulous accuracy. But who wrote them? And why were they hiding them in caves? Most historians believe the scrolls belonged to a strict, ascetic Jewish sect known as the Essenes, who lived in a settlement at the base of the cliffs called Qumran. The Essenes had abandoned the city of Jerusalem. They believed the temple priests were corrupt and that society was doomed. So, they moved to the middle of the desert to live a life of extreme purity. They practiced daily ritual bathing, shared all their property, and spent their days and nights copying sacred scriptures. They were a doomsday cult. Among the biblical texts, archaeologists found the sect's own rule books and apocalyptic writings. One text, known as the War Scroll, detailed a final cosmic battle between the sons of light, themselves, and the sons of darkness, everyone else including the Romans. They believed the end of the world was imminent. In 68 AD, the end of the world did arrive for Qumran. During the First Jewish-Roman War, the unstoppable Roman 10th Legion marched down into the Jordan Valley. The Essenes knew they were coming. In a desperate act of preservation, they took their entire library, placed the scrolls in clay jars, and hid them in the surrounding caves. The Romans destroyed Qumran. The Essenes were wiped out. But their library survived in the darkness for 2 millennia, waiting for a shepherd boy with a rock. While most of the scrolls were written on parchment or papyrus, one scroll was completely different. Found in Cave 3, it was made entirely of copper. It had oxidized so badly that it couldn't be unrolled. It had to be carefully sliced into strips in a laboratory. When translated, the copper scroll shocked the world. It wasn't a religious text. It was a treasure map. It listed 64 underground hiding places throughout the land of Israel, containing massive quantities of gold, silver, and temple vessels. Experts estimate the value of the treasure listed on the copper scroll would be worth over $1 billion today. Many believe this was the treasury of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, hidden away before the Romans destroyed the city. To this day, despite decades of searching, not a single piece of the copper scroll treasure has ever been found. As decades passed, the mystery of the Dead Sea Scrolls turned into a massive scandal. By the 1980s, over 40 years after the discovery, thousands of scroll fragments remained unpublished and hidden from the public. They were controlled by a small, secretive group of scholars. Conspiracy theories exploded. Best-selling books claimed that the Vatican was deliberately suppressing the scrolls. The theory suggested that the scrolls contained explosive information about the historical Jesus or early Christianity that would destroy the foundation of the Catholic Church. The truth, however, was less Dan Brown and more academic arrogance. There was no Vatican conspiracy. The delay was caused by a tight-knit monopoly of older academics who refused to share their assigned fragments with other researchers. They were hoarding the texts for their own careers, taking decades to painstakingly reconstruct the puzzles. In 1991, the monopoly was finally broken. Other universities and institutions obtained photographs of the unpublished fragments and released them to the world. Today, anyone with an internet connection can view the entire collection in high definition. And when the hidden texts were finally read, did they destroy Christianity? No. The scrolls never even mention Jesus, John the Baptist, or the early Christians. They were written by a completely different Jewish group. But what they did do was revolutionize our understanding of the world Jesus lived in. They showed that first-century Judaism was incredibly diverse, filled with messianic expectations, apocalyptic fears, and intense debates over purity and law. The Dead Sea Scrolls are a time machine. They connect us directly to the spiritual turmoil of the ancient Middle East. They are the voices of a doomed community crying out from the wilderness, perfectly preserved in the silence of the desert caves. They are a testament to the enduring power of the written word. And that is the mystery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Unpacked. Thank you for watching Religion Unpacked. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a new upload.